Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how to use Python to create a choose your own adventure story. Now this is a really simple program and one I had a lot of fun writing. But first things first, what is a CYOA story? By the way, this video was inspired in part by the article Most People Can't Make It Through This Choose Your Own Adventure Horror Story, Can You? By Austin Alley. I'll put a link to that in the description below. It was quite fun. In any case, I've designed this program to be easy to understand as well as expand. Let's begin by looking at the data file. There it is up on the screen. Arguably, the first two records here are the most important. The first record will be called when the user wants to quit the program. This is the only time in the program the command field has the value quit. The second record is just as important since it begins the story. As you can see, each record has an index. It is this number that enables navigation from node to node. Second, we have the title. This doesn't have any crucial function in the program other than serving as a subject line that makes it clear which card is being displayed. Next, we have text. And this field, it just contains the narrative. It's purely descriptive. After that, we have the three choices. These are fields which we use to communicate possible paths to the users. You will notice though that usually only two fields are used. This is fine. Occasionally only one field is used. I think once in this particular story 3 fields are used. Just make sure that any unused field is set to none. The next 3 fields are the go-to fields, go-to1, go-to2, and go-to3, and these fields contain the index of the next card to show. Finally, we have the command field. At the moment there are only 2 commands, continue and quit. That's the data file. Next, let's look at what I'm calling the choice matrix. It's a chart of all the records in the data file and the records that each record refers to. So for instance, the record for index number 2, that will refer to records 3 and 6. And so you can see that line there in the choice matrix. The purpose of constructing a choice matrix is to see whether any card is left out or whether one card is used too often. It's a way of taking in all the data at a glance. Now let's look at the program. As you can see, the structure of the card class closely mirrors the structure of the data file. And here is the start of the program. The program has 3 classes. The program loop class is very short, very simple. All it does is handle the other 2 classes, cards and card. If you haven't worked with classes before, this is still going to be simple. Let's step through this. The program doesn't need any data other than the data we've just seen, so there's one data file for the whole thing. Next, we instantiate the program loop class and then call the main method. That's sort of the overview. Now, let's look at the initialization function. As we can see, in the initialization function for program loop, we call the cards class. And within the cards class, read data is called. And this is where we read in the data file. Now let's look at the records. This is a class named card. As you can see, each record in the file is represented by a card object, and each card object more or less corresponds to a record. In this particular data file, there are over 14 records. Each of these records will be read into an instance of the card class. None of these cards will be changed, just displayed. Having read the cards class, we go back to the program loop. Since the program loop class does not have a read data method, we just call main. As we saw when we looked at the data file, the program starts at the first index and goes on from there. Now let's look at the text interface. Let's go over what happens in the main loop. And there is the code. As you can see, the first thing we do is retrieve a card that matches the current index. That's straightforward, so we're just using the index to get a specific card object. After we have that, then we look at the command field. Since there are only 2 values in this field, quit and continue, I don't have to explicitly test for continue. I just test for quit. If the value is quit, then the goodbye function is called and the program ends. After we use the index to get a specific card object, we then use the card object to get a string. After we get the string, we display it. Now all that's left is to get the user's choice of action, and here's how we do that. Here's the code on the screen. The above bit of code first checks to see if the user wishes to quit the program. If they don't, then the input is just checked to make sure that it's valid. After we know the input is good, we get the index of the next card that we want to display. So let's take a look at that. Since there are only 3 possible choices, that is all we have to consider. Recall that GoTo1, GoTo2, and GoTo3 contain the indexes of cards the user can choose, for example, and there you see one of the records. And really, that's it. It's a very simple program. I've been thinking about doing another tutorial where I step through a slightly more complex CYOA program, one that is more like a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Okay, thanks for watching. Please think about liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.